What's up, everyone? Welcome back. I'm so excited to do this video this week. I've been wanting to do this one for a while now. We're going to take a tour of your lacrosse stick from the bottom end all the way to the top. Let's go! The great equalizer, as it's called. The extension of a player. The lacrosse stick is an amazing piece of equipment that is unique to lacrosse because of how much is going on, because of the shaft, the head combinations, because of the way you string your pocket. Each individual player will find exactly what they like and continue to fine-tune that throughout their career. So first and foremost, the lacrosse stick is made of three pieces: the shaft, the head, and the pocket. Shaft, head, pocket. The shaft, the head, and the pocket all in combination make up your lacrosse stick, starting from the bottom of the stick to the top. Let's start with the butt end. Did you just snicker? So we're going to take a look at my daughter's stick here. You do see the butt end cap here on the end of the stick. If I pull this off, you'll see it serves a couple purposes. So the number one reason we have a butt end cap really is to cover the end of the stick, to protect everyone, really just for a safety purpose. Keep everyone safe so they don't get jabbed by the metal that's typically underneath the cap. The number two reason you have a butt end cap is for leverage. When you go to throw a lacrosse ball, you know exactly where to stop because you're going to hit the butt end cap on the stick. It tells you where to stop. Just a quick pro tip: if you've got a butt end cap and it may be sliding off, tape is always your friend. Buy some athletic tape, some hockey tape, tape it around the butt end of the stick. I always tape my sticks because I always found that butt ends were flying off, and you do not want the butt to go flying across the field at the most inopportune time. Next up, we're sliding up the stick, and it's going to be the shaft of the stick. It can be made of wood, it can be made of metal, typically some sort of alloy for strength and lightness. Or it could be a composite material, carbon fiber. There's a lot of different options out there from different manufacturers. Just find which one works best for you. Another important piece to look at when it comes to the shaft is there are different lengths for the different groups. So, boys lacrosse has their own set lengths. Take a look at this chart here. You can see the short stick players, the attack and middies, have their own set length down to more or less 40 inches. Now that's for the complete stick with the head attached. But the shaft is the area that you would cut down to make it just the right length. Goalies have their own set lengths. D-poles have their own set lengths, all the way up to 72 inches if you add both the head and the shaft. But again, if you're going to cut down your stick, you're always going to cut down the shaft. You're never going to cut down the plastic on the head. The girls' game, there's not as much variation when it comes to stick length, but there is a little bit of variation absolutely there. And that definitely depends upon height and potentially position as well. If you've got a youth lacrosse player, check out this video here. We talk a little bit about what is the appropriate length for your player. If it is too long for them, it could be problematic. Some players will make their stick a little more individual to them with tape. Now, you'll see players have tape in different locations, and typically that is to remind them of where to put their hands. They'll feel the bump, they'll feel the tape on the stick, kind of like a speed bump, if you will. It'll tell them where to stop. They'll put their hands there, and that'll be the position for when they're catching up high or throwing much lower. So the goal of the shaft itself is to be a very durable product. Again, it's going to take a lot of the abuse as you get older and stick checking is allowed. It's going to receive those stick checks. So you want something that's going to be strong. Again, there's a lot of companies out there that will have a lot of different names for these different types of sticks, and they're going to do their best to measure strength of the stick with lightweight. It's a delicate balance you want to try to go for because you want this to be as light as possible so you can throw it, so you can get more power on it, but you do want it to be strong so it's going to last through a number of checks. So the number one goal of the shaft is durability and lightness. Don't forget to subscribe as we keep coming out with lacrosse videos each and every week during the season. So the next major piece of the lacrosse stick we want to talk about is the head itself. The head can come in all shapes and sizes, and it does come in all shapes and sizes. Now, there are rules dictating how wide the head can be at certain areas on the stick. NFHS and NCAA sets those rules for the college and high school levels. As you get younger, there's much more flexibility there. So we'll talk about stick heads in general. If you take a look at the side of the head, you're going to see a number of sticks out there on the market. All kinds of different names from all kinds of different manufacturers. There's a lot of great sticks for a lot of great reasons. Really what the manufacturers are trying to do is get a cool look that's going to balance the durability needs, that's going to be lightweight, and potentially even aerodynamic to help with the shot, help with the check, help with whatever. As we work our way up to the shaft, we get to the head of the stick, of course, and at the bottom of the head, you are going to see the throat. The main goal of the throat, located here, is really the attachment to the lacrosse stick. Sometimes you'll see opportunity to screw it in once. Sometimes you'll see multiple screws in the head, specifically in that throat area. This is really meant to be the attachment to the shaft. As we move up from the throat of the stick, we're getting into the interior here. You're going to see a ball stop. In a lot of sticks, you're going to find a ball stop in this location. It's typically something soft, so when the ball hits it, it absorbs some of that shock. It doesn't nail the plastic and bounce right out of your stick. The whole goal of the ball stop is really to kind of cushion the blow that may happen when you're catching or potentially when you're cradling. Just behind the ball stop here, you will see the bottom string holes. So you're going to have a string specifically down here to attach your pocket into the lacrosse stick so the ball doesn't simply roll out the back. If we work our way up both the left and right sides, you will see the sidewall. Again, this is where we talked about each individual manufacturer will have their own design, their own look to it. On the sidewall, you're going to see a number of holes. The sticks with more holes across the bottom is really meant for the player to customize their individual pocket. Here's where a lot of the stringing gets done to affect the pocket the most. So by giving the option of a number of holes, players can customize their pocket specifically to them, put it anywhere they want in the stick. Not only the sidewall is crucial for the stringing of the stick, they're also crucial for the structure of holding the head together. More rigid, you'd be able to take more checks. More flexible, it's going to be able to bounce around a little bit more and be able to get through some of those tight squeeze areas. As we move up the stick, we talked about the throat, the ball stop, where the bottom string's attached. Sidewall is pretty obvious. What's the next one? The scoop. The scoop goes all the way across the top of the stick, and that's what helps you pick up the ground balls. Now, the big difference you'll see with scoops is you will see varying degrees, and that's meant to help pick up ground balls. So you may be able to be more or less parallel with the ground to pick up ground balls. Ideally, we want all of our players getting as low as possible. It helps get through the grass and not get caught up, not getting jammed on the turf or the grass, whatever they're playing on. But you will see varying degrees of scoops, which allow for a player to be in varying degrees of more verticalness, if that's a word, to pick up that ground ball. On the back of the scoop or on the top of the scoop, you will see holes. Those holes are meant for the top string to be in place. So, top of the stick, you've got the scoop. It's for picking up ground balls, but you also see this is where the top string attaches to your stick. That's it for the head itself. We talked about the shaft, we talked about the head. Now let's talk about the pocket that goes inside. Now, pockets come in all shapes and sizes specific to the individual player. Most commonly across boys, you're gonna find mesh pockets. In girls, you'll see mesh, but you'll also see a lot of traditional stringing. And then there's the new style, which is kind of an all woven in one. You do not have to string it, which is kind of like what the warp is doing, the Brian Warp is doing. The primary purpose of the pocket itself is to hold the ball when it is in your stick. It is meant to give it a place to sit, a little home inside your stick, if you will. It is there to be protected, so it'll help you with cradling. Some players like high pockets, some players like low pockets. But that ball will sit in that exact spot when you are cradling your stick. Here you see I have more of a mid pocket. Some players like to play with a high pocket. Some players, I used to in college, play with a low pocket. Important to note is to make sure you know the rules of the game. In boys lacrosse, you are not allowed to see the ball below the bottom rail. In girls lacrosse, there's a number of different pocket rules, and make sure if you haven't done so, check out this video up here where we talk about girls lacrosse pocket rules because that was something completely foreign to me. And I hope that video helps out a lot. So the pocket itself is secured into your stick in a few different locations. We talked about it previously. You've got the top string, which is going to be the most tight location. You've got the side walls that are really going to help build that pocket. And then, of course, you have your bottom string to help hold it all in place. The top string's the one that probably gets beat up the most. Number one, it is the most taut of all of the strings. You want this to be the area where your pocket becomes one with the stick. So the tighter you make it at the top, the more in line with the head of the plastic it is. You'll also notice this is the area in which you're scooping a lot, so the top strings on the back are often going to get beat up going through the grass, going through the turf, going through if you're in a parking lot. You're going to see a lot of wear and tear happening on the top string, and it may be something you do have to replace. Top string's typically a little bit thicker because of those reasons. Then, of course, you attach the rest of the pocket through the sidewall and through the bottom string. That helps keep the ball in its specific location. And again, all of this is individual to each player. Continue to play around with it. If you've got a stick that's factory strung from the store and it's working for you, absolutely perfect. If you've got a friend that knows how to string sticks, Talk to them, try out some different sticks, see what else is available out there. Your player may be interested in something that's a little different than what they've currently already got. Restringing a stick isn't terribly complicated. There's all kinds of kits out there, something like this one. There's all kinds of kits out there that'll help you figure out how to restring the stick. There's a number of videos all across YouTube. Just make sure you go up to that search bar and type, how do I string a stick? And you can talk about your specific mesh, or if you want to go with the traditional, there's great girls lacrosse stringing videos. There's all kinds of options when it comes to stringing a stick. So we talk about top strings, sidewalls, bottom strings. So you also see these strings going across the top of the lacrosse stick here, inside but on the top. Those are my shooting strings. In boys lacrosse, you're allowed to have these hockey lace style shooting strings, but you also have nylon strings. Girls lacrosse use just the nylon strings. These shooters are meant to help hold that pocket in a specific location. So again, always working on making sure we have our pocket, our little home for the ball, in just the right location, but it also helps in the way the ball comes out of the stick. You want to make sure the ball has a smooth release coming out of your stick. You don't want it hitting the plastic across the top. You want a nice smooth release. Now, tightening those shooting strings will make sure your ball comes out a little bit lower. If you have a looser set of shooting strings, the ball is going to come out a little bit higher. Every player is different. Again, this is why lacrosse is so unique. Every player can have a stick that is specific to them. Some players like a lot of whip, which is a tighter string when the ball holds in place for a longer period of time and doesn't come out so high. Or some players like it shooting a little bit higher, and some like that nice balance in between. So there you go. There is a long-winded tour all around the lacrosse stick. We've got the shaft, we've got the head, you've got your pocket. There's a number of components that go in between. There's a number of different areas that you can tweak to make your stick just perfectly custom just for you. Hopefully you learned a lot today, and if anything else, you saw there's a lot of little things that go into making this lacrosse stick. But you know what we say around here, don't forget the little things.